Stop watching the drama and start reading who's allowed to exist in it. I'm Kavita Harris, and this is Hot Takes from the Matriarchy. We've been conditioned to think pop culture is a playground, a place where we go to escape. But in 2026, it's not a playground, it's a laboratory for control. Whether it's HBO's The Pitt or ABC trashing an entire season of The Bachelorette, we are watching the institutional delete key in real time. Now, John Wells didn't casually write a raid for The Pitt. He spent 30 years of industry capital to force that image onto our screens. He didn't just bring a script. He brought Noah Wyle as the face of the show and a lead executive producer. That's the structural wall. Wells used that legacy as a shield to protect a narrative the network was terrified to air. He leveraged a legacy star and a high-status EP credit to make a multi-billion-dollar corporation look at a violation they desperately wanted to sanitize. And over at ABC, they didn't have a John Wells in the room. They didn't have anyone with the standing to prioritize the truth over the logo. So they just deleted the evidence. They didn't miss Taylor Frankie Paul's domestic violence footage. They banked on her 5 million followers from TikTok and the secret lives of Mormon wives until the public receipts made the asset a liability. One creator used his status to reveal a violation. The other used theirs to liquidate a season. From the $10 million spent to buy Chris Harrison's silence back in 2021 to the total scrubbing of 30 men from the season this month, the machine isn't failing by accident. It's performing exactly as designed. It's not gossip, it's power. Let's get into it. The delete key isn't a moral stance. It's a mechanical choice. It's how billion-dollar brands operate. If they can't control the story, they erase it. So what happens when the story won't cooperate? That is the reality right now at ABC. When the video of Taylor throwing chairs at Dakota Mortensen while their child got hit and cried finally leaked, she became uneditable. So, the machine did what it was designed to do. It hit delete. 30 men were scrubbed from the season because airing it cost more than killing it. It's not a failure of the system. It's actually the system working perfectly. But the Pit is a different play entirely. In the Pit, the power isn't in the erase, it's in the infiltration. John Wells didn't ask for permission to show an ice raid. He built a Trojan horse. He used the medical procedure as a tactical mask. He made something controversial look routine so that the network couldn't stop it. He knew that if you frame a hospital invasion as a standard procedure, it becomes invisible to the censors. He made it loud. He made it violent. And he used Noah Wyle's legacy, plus his executive producer credit, as leverage to force it onto the screen. One institution uses power to hide the truth. One creator uses power to bypass the lock. So let's perform a forensic autopsy on HBO's The Pitt. John Wells is the architect here. He's the guy who invented the modern medical drama and turned ER into a multi-billion-dollar cultural institution. He knows exactly how much his name is worth at the negotiation table, and he used every cent of that capital to buy the raid. The Wells power play? In his recent interviews with Matt Boloney, Wells admitted he warned HBO early about the ICE storyline because he knew it was radioactive. He knew the network's default mechanical setting was to hit delete on a plotline that makes shareholders uncomfortable. So he didn't offer them a moral argument. He gave them what looked like balance. He made the agents look like professional bureaucrats, specifically so the network wouldn't have a legal or brand safety excuse to pull the plug. Now, that wasn't a compromise, it was leverage. By dressing the raid in the aesthetics of standard procedure, he stripped the censors of their weapons. When you see a nurse pinned to the floor in that ER, it isn't neutral medicine. It is the state's blunt force smuggled onto your screens inside a Trojan horse. That's the trick. If you make power look like procedure, nobody questions it. By refusing the safe edit, Wells used his cultural capital to protect the image. He proved that hospital walls aren't a force field if the institution decides to let the invaders in. That's how a high-status creator pushes back. By being too expensive to be erased. He used his status, his decades of hits, his EP credit to make sure the network couldn't hide it. He didn't just film a scene, he occupied the airtime. But this is where the balance ends. Because for 20 years, ABC hasn't been balancing anything. They've been building something much more precise. And what you're watching in 2026 isn't a scandal. It's the final form of a system they've been quietly refining for over a decade. The system didn't break in 2026. It's been building, and you can see it in phases. First, exclusion. In 2012, when Black contestants sued the franchise for racial discrimination, citing a decade of nearly all white leads, the network didn't open the door wider. They reinforced the wall. They argued in federal court that casting is protected speech. They won the right to decide who belongs and who doesn't. That's where it starts. Not editing people out, but deciding who never gets in. Then, containment. In 2017, when production on Bachelor in Paradise shut down over misconduct allegations in a Mexican pool involving Corinne Olympios, the problem moved inside the show. Filming halted. Cameras went down. And the machine did exactly what it was built to do. Pause, audit, resume. And 2 weeks later, once the liability was contained, production continued. No structural changes, just a reset. Then came removal. By 2021, the pressure shifted to money. So when Chris Harrison defended a contestant's antebellum plantation-themed photos, the risk wasn't internal. It was brand damage. The response was surgical. Not a system overhaul, but a removal. A multi-million-dollar payout. and the face of the franchise disappeared. The structure stayed intact. The liability went. Then, managed risk. By 2024, the system got more confident. With Gen Trans season, the machine stopped avoiding risk and started managing it. Controversy was absorbed and packaged for views. Even as the lead was left to propose to a man the network failed to properly vet. The narrative held because the machine was deciding what was true. And now, 2026. Because now the lead isn't just a contestant, she's a platform. 5 million followers, an audience the network doesn't own. And when the video surfaced of Taylor Frankie Paul throwing metal bar stools in a domestic altercation, the system ran into something it couldn't manage. Not a clean hero, not a containable villain, something uneditable. So it did what it was always built to do. It hit delete. And at that point, the show isn't producing a story anymore. It's managing risk. John Wells is risking his industry standing to force an ICE raid onto our screens, while ABC is liquidating a season to hide a bad investment. They want you lost in the dream, the roses, the medical drama, so that you don't see the wiring. They want you to believe the delete key is a moral filter, but we've seen the mechanics. It's a cold, brand safety decision to protect a logo. Whether it's Wells using a Trojan horse to bypass the lock, or ABC scrubbing 30 men from the season to protect revenue, the game is the same. Reality isn't what happens, it's what they decide to keep. And we're not just fans. We are the ones holding the receipts they tried to burn. These aren't just TV shows. It's how the narratives get controlled. So if you're not watching the culture, you're missing the play. Subscribe now, and I'll see you next week.